There's a bar in Louisiana that's there one night and gone the next.
If you go to New Orleans in 2026, you might never make it back. This city is full of special occasions and evil invitations.
If you're looking for a journey, not afraid of hell, not too shy for heaven, be in Jackson Square at 2 a.m., wear a black shirt, gray pants, coffee in hand, and sit on the third bench. Come alone, tell no one, this is your only invitation.
A lot of people accepted this invitation and lost their mind. These people seen the devil. It wasn't even in Haiti. New Orleans already got flooded once, but this time they're saying it's going to get baptized in fire. People going to places, then go back the next day and it's not there. Then go back a week later and the place is there. Then go back the next month and it's not there.
Okay, so basically the original creator is talking about how places in New Orleans and across the South do what's called a card shuffle, where you could literally be in a place and then it not exist later when you go back to it, or how it will exist like in a different area, whether it's on a different street or across the street or whatever. So I am here to double down on Sis's story, because let me tell you something. I went to New Orleans a few years back. I went for like a week. I stayed on Bourbon Street, and my first few days there, I was obviously like getting, my bearings about me, learning where everything was, whatever. So one night I go to this bar and they called it the Swamp House, I believe. Anyways, this bar was really cool. It played live music. It had like windows, but there was like no glass in the windows. From the street, I crawled up through one of the bar windows that was like on a platform. It like went onto a stage and I was dancing, and the girl who was like singing the live music saw me and she was dancing, and we were like having a little back and forth go moment. So anyways, I hang out there for a while. I had a really good time. I had a couple drinks and then I hopped out the window, same way I came back, and just kept walking down Bourbon Street, just discovering things and like mingling with the people. The people in New Orleans are so wonderful. It is my home away from home. Eventually the night comes to an end for me. I go back to my hotel, which is on Bourbon Street, crash out, whatever. And then the next day, I'm out exploring, go on this swamp tour, having a good time, whatever. I decide after walking around throughout the night that I wanted to go back to that bar because it had really good vibes. By this time, I'm a few days into my trip, and so I have a very good idea of where the things are. And so I start walking down towards where I know this bar is. So I'm walking and I can't find it. And I think that's really odd. And so then I start asking people on the street, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this bar. It was called the Swamp House, I explain it. People that I'm coming across are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know that bar. And I want to reiterate that the people in New Orleans are so nice and very helpful. So the fact that they're telling me that they don't know about this bar or have never heard of this bar was a little odd. So whatever, I keep walking. I make it to the end and I don't see the bar. And so I'm like, okay, so I double down and I walk back and I still don't see the bar. And so I ask a really pretty lady, and she's all dressed up, New Orleans vibes. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this bar called the Swamp House. I went there the other night and it was such good vibes. This lady looks at me like I'm nuts. And she's like, yeah, there used to be that bar, but it's closed down. It hasn't been here in a long time. And I'm like, no, that's literally impossible. I just danced in the window the night before. So, I was there. I was definitely there. And she assures me that I was not there, that bar did not exist. And so I'm very confused. She takes me to where the bar was, and it's a different bar with an open floor plan, very New Orleans style. I am shitting my pants because I knew that bar was there. I knew I had drinks there. I knew I had this good time with some girl that was singing on stage. And I'm like, what the fuck? Anyways, I think that I must just be confused, even though I have a very good idea of where everything is at this point. And I'm like, you know what? I must be confused. I must have had a few too many drinks. Maybe I don't know. I chalk it up to I don't know. So I finish out my night. I go to a couple other bars, and then I go back to my hotel. So then it becomes the next night and I'm out walking around again. I stop at a nice steakhouse. I have a nice dinner, whatever. Also, best steak I've ever had in my life. And I'm walking back down on the side of the street that the Swamp House bar was. And I come across it again. I could not for the life of me find that bar the night before. And she insisted that it didn't exist. I knew it did. And I just thought maybe she was confused, maybe I was confused. I don't know. I thought maybe I got the name wrong. I don't know. But Now, on this new night, it's back. It's there. It's exactly as I remember it. There's live music again, and it's a different band, but it's the same window that I crawled through to get in and everything else. Like, it is there. This has haunted me for years, since my first trip to New Orleans, because I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, I must have been drunker than I thought. I mean, I was young, so I was partying. I've like, my rational brain has tried to rationalize this so many times in so many different ways, and I just like could not figure it out until I came across her TikTok today, and she's explaining that other people talk about this phenomenon. So now I'm like, oh my God, is this what happened to me? This must have been what happened to me. The card shuffle must have happened, and for whatever reason, that one night it wasn't there, and then it was back. Glitch in the Matrix? I don't know, but I do know that the South is a magical place, and I absolutely love it there, and
So when she went back the second and third time, she ain't do no investigation. She ain't ask nobody at the club about the phenomenon that she experienced. Did she take pictures? Did she get her direct address? Did she pin it on her maps? So many questions, so little answers.
Every city has secret bars, but New Orleans has one that you're only invited to once. And if you accept, you might not come back. Let's have a talk. So this story was submitted to me by one of my followers, and he wishes to remain anonymous because this supposedly happened to him. And this is a supposed true story, so he kind of wants to fly under the radar. This story takes place back in 2001 when this 21-year-old guy became obsessed with finding a real, authentic speakeasy while living in New Orleans. None of that fake, trendy crap. He was looking for like the real deal, the stuff that people warn you about, right? So he got a job working in the quarter, and he would typically work late. And when he got off of work, he would spend his time before going home wandering the quarter in search of this speakeasy. Until one night, while on a chat forum, he got an email from an unknown sender. And the subject line read, "Secret Bar." And it said pretty much, if you're looking for a journey, not afraid of hell, not too shy for heaven, be in Jackson Square at 2 a.m., wear a black shirt, gray pants, coffee in hand, and sit on the third bench. Come alone, tell no one, this is your only invitation. Well, he almost ignored it, but curiosity killed the cat, boredom won, and he accepted. So at 1:55 in the morning, he sat on the third bench in Jackson Square, coffee in hand, wearing what he was told to wear, and at exactly 2 a.m., the cathedral bells rang out, and someone tapped him on the shoulder from behind. A woman sat beside him, and she was calm, pale, and he said she had a very confident, demeanor about her. And she knew his name, she knew a little bit about him, and she told him that this was his first chance to back out, and if he wanted to walk away, now was the time. But he ignored it, and he followed her, and there was going to be no second invitation. But he didn't care, and he went with her. They walked past Bourbon Street, past the music, past all the tourists, past everything, and into the dark and into the quiet part of the quarter they went. So she stopped at this normal-looking house, and he said it was nothing really out of the ordinary. It wasn't creepy looking, but when they went inside, it was empty. There was no furniture, no sound, no lights. There was nothing, except at the end of this long hallway was an elevator, and the only direction it went was down. And she warned him one more time. She said, "Hey, this is your final chance. Are you sure?" He didn't care. He stepped inside, and the elevator descended far longer than it should have. He said it felt like forever. The wood turned to stone, and the air grew really, really heavy the deeper they went. Like it was almost hard to breathe, he said. When the doors opened, heat slammed into him like a brick wall, he said. And at the end of this narrow hallway sat a single door. And behind it was the bar. It was small, it was silent, it was dim. And he was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. But there was no music, there was no labels on the bottles, no cash register. And the bartender, when he walked in, just simply smiled and said, "Hey, welcome to hell." And this guy laughed it off. He's like, "Oh, this is what I've been looking for." He was really excited. Then the bartender asked, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And the menu was oddly simple. The only things on the menu were regret, loneliness, and damnation. And he's like, oh, that's weird. So he goes, you know what? I have it in my life. There are things that I regret. I want a bottle of regret. And the moment that he took his first sip, he realized that this wasn't a bar at all, because the customers weren't drinking for fun. They were actually suffering. And he noticed it. And one of them looked at him and quietly whispered to him, hey, leave while you can.
So how did he get out the bar? Why did they let him leave? He drunk the regrets. Do he regret going to the bar? Did they get on the elevator with him when he left? Or did he just get up and decide that he wanted to leave? Was there another invitation? Do we still have the email? Do we have the IP address to the person that sent him the email? And when he left the bar, was he the only person to leave? And why did they let him leave if he was in hell? Do he got burn marks to prove that his story is true? I know a lot of weird things happen in New Orleans, but when stuff like this get out there, anybody could make up a story about them having a strange encounter in New Orleans, but for some reason, I feel like the story that was just told is true.
There's a bar in Louisiana that's there one night and gone the next. Let's talk about it. I came across this story on a forum where people share their unexplained experiences, and what really caught my attention was that more than 3 people had spoken about this exact same situation. The story was posted by a girl named Jasmine, and it was a few years ago. She was in Baton Rouge working on a work trip, and she was sharing a hotel room with one of her coworkers. And on their last night in town, they decided to go out and get some drinks. And they ended up meeting these 2 guys. Jasmine at the time had a boyfriend, but her coworker was really, really hitting it off with this one guy. So she really wanted to go out. So Jasmine decided to go along with them. The guys were polite, charming, and dressed strangely like turn of the century. At some point, they asked the girls if they wanted to go to this bar where only locals know and go to, and that they would drive so they wouldn't need to worry about an Uber. But Jasmine was kind of hesitant because, like I said, she had a boyfriend. They're in an unknown area. They don't know the guys, but her coworker was really, really hitting it off with this one guy. So Jasmine did decide to go. But she also decided to give her boyfriend her location just in case something happened and somebody knew where she was. As they drove, the city of Baton Rouge kind of just faded behind them. It got really, really dark, more rural, and it was about 30 minutes in when Jasmine realized that they weren't anywhere near Baton Rouge anymore. They kept taking like all these back roads, but the guy seemed completely comfortable, so she just was like, whatever. Eventually, they pulled up to this small building. It was in the middle of nowhere on the edge of the woods, and it just had dimly lit lights on the inside. There was a convenience store across the street, so again, they didn't think much of it. Inside, the guys seemed to know everybody. They're shaking hands, slapping each other on the back. Everybody was really friendly, but also that's when Jasmine noticed that something was off about the place. Everyone in there was dressed like they were from another time period. The women were wearing long dresses, button-up blouses, pleated skirts. The men were dressed like the 2 guys that they were with, just like very Victorian era type of clothing for the men and the women. And at first she thought it was like a theme bar, or, they were having a theme that night. But the longer that she looked around, the stranger she kind of felt. The lighting was really, really dim inside. It was like almost candlelit. There were no TVs, no neon signs, no radios playing. There was nothing modern. Smoke filled the room. Not that that's unheard of, but we don't really see that too much today. People were openly smoking, and almost everyone in there was drinking from like a really old, thick glass, like kind of like cocktail glasses that we really don't see anymore. The girls did not fit in at all whatsoever. And everybody kept staring at them like they did not belong. At the bar, when they got up there, Jasmine didn't really want to drink, but she did want to order something, so she ordered a Coca-Cola. The bartender looked at her and was like, I have no idea what that is. Her friend ended up asking for a flavored vodka, and the bartender was like, yeah, I still have no idea what that is. He suggested Sazerac, and everybody agreed. And the 2 guys that they were with paid in cash, but Jasmine noticed when they handed over the bills did not look like modern US dollars. Again, she thought it was odd, but she's like, whatever, maybe I just didn't see it. So while sitting there and listening to the live jazz band, Jasmine texted her boyfriend telling him that it was a really, really cool place. She was having a good time, but she also felt kind of weird, and she didn't know exactly where she was, and she felt like she was kind of like in a kind of like uncomfortable situation. He immediately said that he had a bad feeling and he wanted her to get out of there, and he thinks that her and her coworker should leave. So her coworker was all cuddled up to the guy that she was into, and Jasmine had to physically pull her away from him. And the coworker didn't want to go, but Jasmine eventually convinced her, like, hey, like, we should probably get out of here. So when she was leaving, her coworker went to ask the guy that she was hitting it off with, like, hey, can I get your number? I would love to call you, and we can meet up again. And he just laughed and was like, I don't have a phone. And that's when everything kind of like clicked for Jasmine. She said that as they were walking towards the door, the band just stopped playing and everybody was just staring at them, the entire bar. And everyone just was like watching them leave, and they already felt like they had stayed way too long, like overstayed their welcome. And they ended up going outside, walking and waiting, and they called an Uber, and in about 30 minutes, they got picked up. The next day, they were packing to go home, and they had a couple of hours before their flight, and they were going to go out and get something to eat when Jasmine's coworker realized that she didn't have her ID on her. And the last place that she remembers seeing it was when they were at that bar. So she's like, look, I need my ID. Like, we're going to have to go back there and see if they have it, because that's the last place that I remember having it. So they called an Uber, they went back out there, and as they were driving, the Uber driver was like, I don't really know about any bar out here, so the girls were telling him, like, no, like, you make a left here, make a right here. And they were taking him to this place. And he's like, guys, I've lived here my whole life. I don't know anything, but hey, maybe there's a new bar that I'm unaware of. So they get to the spot where the bar was. And as they pull up, there's just an empty field. There's nothing. It's the same road, same location, no building, no foundation, no sign that a bar or a building was ever there. There was no convenience store across the street. And it just completely freaked them out, and the girls had no idea what to do. And the Uber driver was like, are you guys all right? Is everything okay? The girls didn't want to sound crazy, and they just did not know what to think of it or what became of it. And they literally left that night knowing that they will never go back there. And they never found her ID. They never had an answer for it. And that is honestly why they call it the disappearing bar of Louisiana.
It's a possibility they slept with them dudes at that bar. And when her boyfriend asked how come she went out with her homegirl and some other dude to a bar, that's when they came up with this crazy, bizarre New Orleans story. Like they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But when you go to New Orleans, you put a spooky twist on it. You can sleep with as many ghosts as you want to sleep with, and you ain't got to feel guilty because they was ghostesses. You can go to a nasty, raunchy bar, the nastiest bar in the city, and when you go back, you ain't got no guilt because the bar wasn't even there. Therefore, whatever you did that night, it never really happened because you was in the Twilight Zone in New Orleans.
I came across a video of a lady telling about a disappearing bar that was either in the New Orleans area or the Baton Rouge area. I can't remember, but basically it's a bar that's there one night and that's gone the next. But since living here, I have experienced a lot that I cannot explain. While walking Jackson Square, we came across a lady who was doing tarot card readings. I don't get tarot card readings, but my sister, she decided she was going to get one. So she got one, and the lady told her things that were either currently true in her life at that time or things that were literally about to happen in the following months. Those things did come true, and what the lady told her currently was happening was also true. There was no way she could have known those things. About 2 to 3 months later, we realized that everything the lady told my sister that was going to happen, happened. So, out of curiosity, we decided to go find her and get another tarot card reading. So we went back to Jackson Square the next day after realizing everything came true, and we did not see her there. However, there was several other vendors there in that same area that had been there for 10, 15, 20 years. So I asked them if they knew when she was going to come back, if they had seen her in the past couple days, what happened. They told me that there was never a lady that ever did tarot card readings there. They basically told me she had never been there. There was never anyone who did tarot card readings there. And there was never anyone who sold things there that looked like her. And they had been there every single day for the past 10, 15, 20 years. So I was freaked out. I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, there's no way that we imagine this, dream this, whatever. So I go on Cash App to see if I can try to get a name. I paid her on my Cash App. There was no Cash App transaction at all. The transaction was gone. It was like it never came from my bank account. The money was not missing from my bank account. It was like I never paid anybody at all. Although the same day that I paid, I watched the transaction go through with my own two eyes. However, it just was not there at all. I told y'all I would do a part 2 for the disappearing tarot card story. So the last thing that I told y'all was that the Cash App transaction was gone. So after that, we realized we didn't want to be involved with whatever was going on, and obviously it was nothing to play with. So we tried to forget that it happened because we was freaked out. But every time we went back to Jackson Square, we would either look for her or look for somebody doing tarot card readings in that area, and we never seen anybody and still haven't for the past 4 years. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I came across a lady who did a TikTok video about the disappearing bar in the Baton Rouge area. But one comment caught my attention, and I'm not sure why, but it just had me thinking deeper into the situation. Basically, the lady commented and was like, was it Marie Laveau? Okay, I have never seen a real picture of Marie Laveau. The only Marie Laveau that I'm aware of, and I know obviously it's not real, is American Horror Story Marie Laveau, Angela Bassett. That's all that I know. I try not to look too much deeper into things. So I was like, let me just go look up a picture of Marie Laveau, like a real life picture. So I go on Google, type in a real life picture of Marie Laveau, and I kid you not, my heart just about stopped. The lady in the picture of who they're saying is Marie Laveau, or the closest picture that they can get to Marie Laveau during that time period, looked exactly like the tarot card reader that we had experienced in Jackson Square.
You know, Marie Laveau is powerful. I think I've channeled her once before, and she is here to teach. She is creating these experiences for people to realize there is more than just their physical bodies. She was absolutely the one that was dealing with her, and her work is getting stronger and stronger because the veil has thinned and people are becoming more and more conscious and aware. So what it means when the veil is thin is it means that we are able to see more intuitively. Even people who normally would never even use that word or imagine something like that. Yes, I understand New Orleans already has the energy, which is beautiful, but now that the energy is becoming stronger and stronger, places like New Orleans that are already steeped in this mysticism is going to become even stronger. Some things aren't meant to be explained because they are meant to be experienced. And when you experience something intuitively, sometimes there literally is no words to describe what you experienced because it is a whole body experience. It is not something logical. And Marie Laveau is responsible for the bulk of these things. People, places appearing, disappearing. This is happening. She's saying it happens a lot, all the time, and it isn't meant to mess with or harm. It is meant to teach. She's also saying there's this awakening coming specifically to New Orleans where the masses are going to wake up. And part of that is these experiences are going to continue. They're going to be more often. They're going to be bigger. They're going to be clear. They're going to be even more undeniable. And this is because there is this large awakening that is taking place. My recommendation is for those that have these experiences is to understand that you are being shown how we are all more than our bodies, how all of us have psychic abilities, psychic skill sets, how we are as conscious beings. This is just who we are. The ability to be psychic, clairvoyant, clairsentient. It is just who we are. The physical body is just a vehicle that we use to be able to articulate and express our psychic skill sets. Marie Laveau is not going anywhere, and she is a huge part of this location. So my recommendation for anyone that lives there is to...
If you see a red bone with a deck of cards, run the other way. Forget that being friendly, trying to talk to a ghost, trying to befriend a ghost, because when you dead, y'all gonna be friends to the end. Matter of fact, y'all ain't even gonna be friends, because at the end, you ain't even gonna be alive no more. You might just want to go to church. All I could do at this point is pray for New Orleans, because it's one of the most scariest places in U.S. history. It's haunted with misery, floods, bad rappers, Twerk Fest, Manny Fresh, Big Frida, Juvenile, Baby, Wayne, BG, Turk, The Hot Boys, No Limit, Master P, Mia X, Fiend, Mystical, C Murder, even Snoop Dogg got something to do with New Orleans. Now you know that's evil, but wait, it gets worse.
So this is fascinating here, what this creator is talking about. And this was years ago, and it only made me think about this after she explained this whole card shuffling thing. I was in New Orleans on a guy's trip, bunch of dudes. I slept in because we had just had quite a bit the night before, and they were all going to go watch a soccer game at a sports bar that was outside the French Quarter, not far from the hotel. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to sleep in, I'm going to have a little breakfast, and I'll meet you guys there, before the game is over. So I go and have a little breakfast just off Canal Street. The hotel's on Canal Street. And then I'm like looking at my Google Maps on the phone, and it says it's a 10-minute walk away from where I am. I'm like, okay, it's not too hot yet. Let me just do this walk. It'll probably be good for me to take a walk anyway. I start walking up Canal Street. I'm walking. And suddenly I notice, after 10 minutes or so, I'm still on Canal Street. I'm looking at the Google Maps, and it still says that I'm still a 10-minute walk away. I'm like, all right, I haven't turned any corners. It's a straight street. There's no roundabouts or nothing like that. So I keep walking up Canal Street. I'm walking. The cable cars are usually going up and down Canal. There's no cable cars. There's nobody else around. It's just me on the street, walking and walking. Finally, I'm like, okay, something's weird here because it's way further than Google Maps is saying, even though I'm looking at the map and I'm like, it's not that far away from where the hotel was. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to call an Uber because this is just, I can start seeing, it's starting to get a little, a little weird. Once you get outside the French Quarter and you're just walking through town, then there's like homeless tent camps under the bridges and stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm just by myself here. Let me just get in this Uber because I'm already late. I call an Uber. It takes a while for him to get there. I jump in the Uber. This guy, we're driving. I'm looking at my phone. I'm looking at the map as it's going. It's not that far. We're not going in any weird directions. And it took 15 minutes from where he picked me up to get to this bar. And he drops me off. And I'm just like, it seemed like I was by myself. There was nobody else around. And no matter how far I walked up Canal, I never went anywhere. It's like I never moved. Yeah, the buildings and stuff changed, but it's like I didn't make any progress on the map. So at the time I was just like, hey, I don't know what happened there. But now that you talk about this card shuffling thing, it was like I was in some kind of weird loop and there was nobody else around. And I'm walking and just never getting anywhere until I got in this Uber. And even then it was further away than I thought I was. Weird stuff, man.
Stay your ass out of New Orleans. Trust me, it's not worth it. You crawl in there for them crawfish, and you're going to be crawling out of a grave trying to get back to wherever you from. I say if you want to drink and you want to get drunk, go to the liquor store, get you a bottle, kick back, relax in the comfort of your own home. Make a bubble bath. Put some bubbles in it. Get some dish detergent. If you really want to be fancy about this, you do not have to go to New Orleans, man. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section.